Over the last few days, you guys have heard me talk about Steph Curry versus Magic Johnson in the GOAT conversation pertaining to point guards in NBA history. To some people, I was sacrilegious the other day, downright blasphemous, because I had the audacity, the unmitigated gall, to imply that Steph Curry may very well be the best point guard in the history of the game. Obviously, there were a plethora of people who disagreed with me. And I got news for you. I got a lot more to say about this because it needs to be said. Because I did say it. There was a reason I said it. Knowing I got to see Magic Johnson sooner than later, I mean, that's a very risque proposition on my part. But damn it, I say what I mean and I mean what I say. And if I'm not sure, I'm going to acknowledge I'm not sure. I will confess, listening to my guy, Eddie Johnson. Eddie Johnson is a former NBA player, was a damn good NBA player. 6'8", small forward, played on a plethora of teams, including the Phoenix Suns. Hell of a player. Now hosts a show on NBA radio. He was filling in this morning with Mitch Lawrence, formerly of the New York Daily News, been an outstanding NBA reporter for decades. And he was just schooling folks on, you know, the point guard position, which sort of mirrors what my assistant, Sumatra, who thinks that she's a basketball aficionado, he was just echoing and mirroring what she said. I have to confess, he made some very compelling points. I have to even confess this even more. Actually, what he said sound very, very similar to what Sumatra was saying, which means that she had a good point too. And he was talking about how the operative word to describe a point guard is supposed to be facilitator, somebody who creates opportunities for others to score. And Eddie Johnson was fixated on that point, and I give him credit for that. But he wasn't the only one. On Wednesday mornings on ESPN's First Take, #1 sports morning show in America for the last 12 years and counting, by the way, Mad Dog Russo, that's his day to appear on First Take. And he was on with me this morning. And here's what he had to say when people told him that Magic Johnson may very well be eclipsed in some people's eyes as the best point guard in the world in the history of basketball by none other than Steph Curry. Listen to what Mad Dog Russo had to say. Listen to my follow. Here it is.
Magic Johnson is the only player who I've seen, there's only 2 or 3 of them, who could dominate a game at that position without putting the ball in the basket. What is the definition of a point guard? You know what the definition? Bob Cousy always used to say this, the great Bob Cousy. When you cross midcourt, your first objective is to get a teammate a good shot. Magic Johnson, when he crossed midcourt, his first objective was to get a teammate a good shot. Curry, in a lot of ways, his first objective is what 35-footer I can make.
What I'm thinking about is the modern day game and the word impact. And I'm thinking about Steph Curry's extraordinary marksmanship and his movement without the basketball and how it forces a defense to have their head on a swivel. And as a result, it facilitates others like Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole when he was there to do what Worthy, Byron Scott, and others were able to do statistically for the Los Angeles Lakers while Magic Johnson was a point guard. I think we're both right. I think we both have good points. If you're talking about the quintessential prototypical point guard, Eddie Johnson and Mad Dog Russo has a point. I'll tell you somebody else who does have a point as well. It would happen to be somebody that texted me this morning at 5:54 a.m. that wrote a pretty long-ass quote and then gave me permission, which he almost never does, to quote him publicly and tell the world what he said. Ladies and gentlemen, weighing in on Steph Curry and whether or not he's the greatest point guard in NBA history over Irvin Magic Johnson is none other than Michael Jordan himself. And here was his quote to me. Good morning, sir. Although greatest of anything is always a debate, I beg to differ on your greatest point guard of all time. Magic Johnson is easily the best point guard of all time. Steph is very close, but not in front of Magic. You must define point guard to have a serious debate. Steph is by far the best shooter ever. Yes, his movement has created many shots for his teammates. Career 42% three-point range. But Magic Johnson invented the triple-double. Not truly invented, but makes it more noticeable of the impact he had on the game. It's a point guard stat, to be honest. He was the best. We can go on, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. You get the point. By the way, Magic has 5 championships. None other than Michael Jeffrey Jordan. To yours truly, this morning before I went on First Take. By the way, I say permission because I don't quote people when they say stuff to me off the record unless they give me permission to quote them. That is the respectable, decent, the ethical thing to do. But I don't think that people are getting my argument. So to Eddie Johnson, the Mad Dog Russo, and to the great Michael Jordan, let me expound on my point. We're not going to bring up numbers, three-pointers by Steph Curry, 3,390, assists, 5,440. Okay, we're not going to do all of that, okay? We know that Steph Curry is a prolific scorer, arguably a top 5 scorer, top 10 scorer in the history of basketball, clearly the greatest shooter that God ever created. We know all of that. What I was alluding to was impact. That's what I was alluding to. And I want everybody to understand that. When Eddie Johnson and Mad Dog Russo and to some degree Michael Jordan talk about Magic Johnson, they're talking about the facilitator. Nobody led a fast break the way that he did. Nobody could be 6'9" and dribble the basketball and throw no-look passes and passes behind his back and all of this stuff the way Magic Johnson did. Magic Johnson was phenomenal and fantastic and all of that stuff. And I'm not disputing that. Magic Johnson is the greatest facilitator that we have ever seen at the point guard position in the history of basketball. What I was trying to say is that when you're thinking about Steph Curry, I'm talking about impact. I'm saying his marksmanship from long range, from 20, from 30, from 40, from the corner, from the wing, from the top of the key and beyond. I'm talking about a guy that you literally have to guard the moment he steps past half court. That guy is who I'm talking about. It's not just that makes him great because of his impact. What makes him great is his ability to move without the basketball. He's always moving. And because he's always moving, a defense's head is on a swivel. Because their head is on a swivel, they can't key in on other dudes. That's why Klay Thompson could average what he averages in some people's eyes, even though I think Klay Thompson is great. That's why Jordan Poole averaged what he averaged, even though I think he'll do good things in Washington this year because the brother could play and he could score. When you have a Steph Curry, you have to constantly keep your eyes on him. You can't double others. You got to double him. And from an impact perspective on the offensive side of the ball, that's what makes him great. Yeah, he might be moving without the ball and positioning himself to get the ball back so he could shoot. But he also facilitates an easier life for his teammates because of the threat that he is. That was Magic Johnson in a different way. When you put the Magic Johnson in a half-court situation, he threw the ball to Kareem. In the open court, it's a fast break. It's James Worthy on one wing. It's Byron Scott and Norm Nixon before him on another. It's Michael Cooper trailing. Or Kurt Rambis later on. Or Michael Thompson. People like that. Or Bob McAdoo, the great Bob McAdoo. All of those things are happening. I'm simply saying Steph Curry's impact on the offensive end of the floor is that lethal because of his marksmanship, his willingness and ability to move without the basketball, and the fact that a defense is absolutely petrified and their head is on a swivel. Because if you watch defenders who defend against Steph Curry, the minute he launches a shot, if they don't block it, they literally go, damn, and turn around because they know it's going in. That's how lethal this brother is. Most people in the NBA couldn't shoot 40% from three-point one season. He's done it practically his whole career. with the exception of his injury-riddled season when he only played about 5 games. And oh, by the way, he's a career 42.8% three-point shooter. The brother is on another level. That's all I was trying to say. Facilitator goes to Magic Johnson, Sumatra. It goes to Magic Johnson. But potency and impact, one could argue, belongs to Steph Curry. That's all I was trying to say. But Eddie Johnson was absolutely right. He wasn't wrong. Mad Dog Russo made valid points. And Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the greatest who has ever lived as far as I'm concerned, definitely made his points. And I just wanted to make sure that I was clear about that with everybody else.